It's raging time! Now I want to try to keep this sweet and to the point because I could probably drivel on about this novel all day, but before anything I have a couple of things I want to disclose about this video. If you're thinking of getting this novel, or if you've already started it but haven't finished, then you are free to leave this video right now, because I'm going to be dropping some major spoilers later on. In fact, I'm pretty much going to ruin the entire thing for you. However, if you already finished this game or simply don't give a shit, then buckle up buckaroo because this is going to get heated. And finally, if you don't like me talking about Japanese games, then get over yourself. But with that out the way, let us begin! This video is going to be divided into 3 sections. First part, I'll talk about the first half, second part the second half, and then the third part I'll go full retard and start screaming at you like it's somehow your fault I ended up disliking this one. But anyway, Umineko is a visual novel by the same guys that made Higurashi When They Cry, a visual novel that's like an aggressive chimp. Awesome to have around and will keep you entertained for hours, but it doesn't necessarily want to play nice all the time. Higurashi is probably one of my favourite novels because it's so deep and twisted, where every new chapter added in a new layer to the already fascinating mystery and was always able to one-up itself with each new tale. The first half is defined as question arcs, where it sets the mystery and presents a series of situations that appear to be the work of the supernatural. The latter half, on the other hand, is referred to as answer arcs, where you realise through indirect means that everything that's been happening previously can all be explained through simple and rational explanations. It worked really well as you were still required to put the pieces together yourself. Higurashi didn't straight up give you the answer. Instead, it'd present a similar scenario to one you've already seen, and by witnessing it from a different perspective, are you able to take what you've learnt here and apply it to what you already know there, and only then does the answer appear. It was an amazing novel and a must-read. So I was hoping that Umineko would be much of the same sort of thing. In short, the first half somehow managed to blow that expectation out of the water for me, and showed me something even more engaging. The tale is set in October of 1986 on the island of Rokkenjima. For the most part, you follow battler Ushiromiya, an 18-year-old guy with a name that sounds like his parents had him in mind for the army when he was born. Like, Battler. I battle. It's Empire Earth 3's Builder We Build all over again, but I digress. He's here to attend the family annual conference. His family are stupidly rich, and all of them are run by the head of the family, that being his grandfather Kinzo. However, the topic of the conference this year is inheritance, because the head was listening to the intro to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and thought that he might as well kick it, causing divisions between his 4 adult children. On top of this, you also learn about the legend of the Golden Witch, a tale about how an immortal witch lives on the island and had previously given the head 10 tons of gold. Unable to pick a successor for the family, the head decides to create a riddle for all to try out. He who solves it will inherit the title of family head, as well as the 10 tons of gold. Initially, this is poo-pooed by everyone as the old man going senile, however, this soon proves to be fatal. By the next morning, 6 members of the family, including servants, are found brutally murdered, and as the plot unfolds, more murders occur, and always in bizarre circumstances that suggests the human culprit couldn't have done it, lending to the claim that the witch really does exist. It is now up to you to decide if the events before you were committed by a human, or if they were carried out by magic. Nope, it was magic. Magic and witches. And furniture. Lots of furniture. Seriously, there's so much furniture in this game that I thought I'd wandered into a DFS store. Unlike Higurashi, which was centered around one theme, Umineko's scene constantly changes. First it's a murder mystery, then it's Ace Attorney as if directed by Michael Bay, then it's Wicked for crackheads before finishing off the first half with Blind Date meets The Purge for the 1986 timeline, and 12 Monkeys meets Carrie for the 1998 timeline. By the end of the first episode, you're introduced to the Golden Witch, who I'm going to refer to as Beatrice, and not Beatrice, because that way always annoys me. And at first I thought they were pronouncing her name wrong, because they pronounced George as George, Angie as NG, to which every time I heard that particular pronunciation, I always ended up saying, Spy 7 Murder Spencer! Oh, and please help me out in the comments here. How do you pronounce her name? I know it's based on the name Virgil, sometimes pronounced as Virgilius, as in the famous Roman poet who escorted Dante Alighieri through hell and purgatory in Divine Comedy, so the female pronunciation would surely be Virgilia, like her name is spelt. But I'm pretty sure it's not Varugiglia. Anyway, I later learnt that they went with the Italian pronunciation for Beatrice, but f*** it, Beatrice it is. Now at this point, any hopes of everything being explained with human tricks pretty much gets Hadorkined out of the window, as the plot feeds you a very one-sided and obscured version of the current events. However, if you stop trying to make sense of why the murders keep occurring, oh by the way, we're in a time loop here, don't think too hard on it, then you'll soon start to appreciate the countless closed room murder scenarios that Umineko presents. They're really good. In fact, they're really f***ing difficult to work out. Which is good. Now at this point you may be forgiven for linking this to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, and yes, Umineko does borrow heavily from that, but I'd say it's more along the lines of Beauty and the Beast meets an episode of Poirot. Which, now that I think about it, was also by Agatha Christie. The atmosphere is well nurtured, polished, and then violently rubbed in your face for maximum impact. There are a lot of characters, yes, but as time goes on, you'll learn who everyone is and decide on who you like or dislike, though that may change. I wanted to like Rosa to start with, mainly because she looks like the anime version of my own mother, but I ended up absolutely hating her by the end of episode 4 for being a slag. I didn't like Natsuhi when I first met her, but I really felt for her by the end as the game turns her into a human punching bag. I also like the "oh my god, is this guy still talking?" face she'd put on. You've got to love Maria simply for how screwed up she is, and Beatrice is a fantastic antagonist to the point where you'll be waiting in excitement for how she's going to torture Battler next. Like with Higurashi, the first 4 arcs are question arcs, so most of your questions aren't going to be answered here. But there's always the second half, so maybe we'll be able to shine some light on No, it doesn't. Welcome to the second part of the video, ladies and gentlemen. The second half tries to add in several new plots and story elements, which isn't a bad thing. However, it does absolutely nothing to solve the majority of the mystery presented thus far. Instead, it'd rather create some more mystery, realise they haven't actually answered anything, and then spend several sections telling Angie that it's important to think for yourself. Because we forgot to include the answers and can't be bothered to go back and program that bit in. It really rubs the think for yourself attitude in your face over and over again, but it's not like anyone is not going to think for themselves. Christ, I came up with so many theories as to how the murders occurred. I did what you asked, now give me my goddamn answers. Oh, and before you say, yes, this is the PS3 version of the second half, because it's not been released on Steam yet. And on a quick note, some people prefer the PS3 art to the updated PC art, and some don't. I'm kind of mixed on that one. But we can all agree that the original artwork was shit. Like, take Beatrice for example. Here's the new PC version. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? Now here's the PS3 version. Still pretty good, right? Now take a look at the original art for her. I mean, that's just terrible. That's not even remotely okay. Even worse is Maria. Here's the new PC version. A little weird on the eyes, but pretty good overall. Here's the PS3 version. Still pretty good, I'd say. Now get a load of the original. Oh my god! What the hell is that? I don't know! What should we do? Just kill it! Just kill it! I can't believe that the devs commissioned to have this, and they were all like, yeah, that'll do. But I digress for the second time. Now, some parts of the second half aren't bad, like Battler's logic error part. Spoilers alright, because this is how it goes. A body is found in a locked bedroom. Inside, there's an ensuite bathroom, a wardrobe, 2 beds, and the only entry and exit to this room is the main door. In order to confirm this death, the chain lock on the door had to be broken. Once inside, there was not much time to confirm the cause of death. Instead, the room was left alone for the police to handle. That's the initial setup. After revisiting this room, we find that the body has disappeared. The detective character, Erica, searches all areas within the bedroom except for the wardrobe. She then checks the bathroom, but is caught by a small water trap which takes her a minute to disarm it. Upon returning to the bedroom, she declares that Battler, he was the corpse by the way, was not really dead after all, and is currently hiding in the wardrobe. In response, Battler... sorry if this is confusing, but imagine that Battler is able to view all of this from the afterlife, don't think too much on it. Battler confirms that he's not in the wardrobe. In fact, he's not even in the room. At this point, Erica points out that when she entered the room a minute ago, she fixed the broken chain lock with duct tape and it was still locked from within. This creates a logic error. It means that Battler had to have escaped while Erica was in the bathroom and somehow locked the chain lock from outside of the bedroom. Which can't be done. Sounds pretty hairy, doesn't it? Unless you didn't understand a word of that, in which case see you on the next video, because the rest of this one is pretty much going to be this sort of conversation. However, the game presents a solution. While Erika was dealing with the bathroom trap, Cannon, some emo kid, came in and traded places with Battler. This satisfies all previous notions of Battler not being in the room and the door was locked from the inside. Oh, so that's how it's done, I originally thought, but then it hit me. Wait, that means that Cannon is now locked in the closet. So how did he get out? Well, as it turns out, Beatrice confirms that he's not in the closet either. So how did he escape? No, that wasn't a rhetorical question. I'm actually asking you how he escaped, because the game doesn't fucking tell you. Sure, I have my own theory, but I can't tell you if it's right or not. And the second half pulls this shit so much. Like, in episode 5, where a letter appears, and it's confirmed that no one in the building touched it, or placed it directly or indirectly, and no one can come in or out of the building. So basically, a letter appears that no one touched. So it's got to be magic, right? Nope, because it's also confirmed that someone put it there. So, you're saying that someone put it there, yet no one put it there. Again, I do have a theory for this one, but there's no way I'll ever be able to prove it, because instead of answering its own mystery, the game would rather focus on a pointless wedding between Battler and Erika for some fucking reason. Tell a lie though, a few mysteries do get resolved, such as the witch's riddle. This riddle is available to view throughout most of the game, and it gives you the impression that it can be solved with logic, to the point where it feels like the game is encouraging you to solve it yourself. Incidentally, if you're thinking of solving this riddle yourself, then just don't. It's impossible, and you'll see why after I give you the answer. Ready? Here we go. So here it is, but before you do anything, you're going to need the following. First, you'll need an atlas of Taiwan. Right, so already this is bollocks. How am I supposed to be expected to know the ins and outs of Taiwan? So yeah, an atlas. In fact, an atlas that also tells you the history of Taiwan. In addition, you need to be able to speak, read and write Japanese fluently, and you need to be able to speak, read and write English fluently. If there is even one thing here that you can't do or don't have access to, then you'll never figure out the mystery. Logic puzzle my hairy arse. In a nutshell, this involves you looking up a river in Taiwan, then realising that it's not a river but a rail line instead, then finding one village and immediately know that it was originally called something else, and that something else is the key that's referred to in the riddle. Then you've got to take the word quadrillion, because we're now jumping down to the end of the riddle, because fuck you, and then remove the letters from the key from there. Also, the word quadrillion would lead you to the chapel, because that's the only place that word ever appears. Then, rearrange the letters to spell the phrase Lord You, and then twist and remove each letter, and that will open a secret door to where the gold is hidden. I bet you feel down now, huh? Oh, and speaking of letdown, despite the fact that I get most of my questions answered from the wiki page and not from the fucking game itself, I even discovered that the game's greatest plot twist wasn't even included in the game! So I'm just gonna tell you. So in Chapter 7, you learn that Kinzo got it on with the original Beatrice, who was an Itai, then they had a daughter, and then he got it on with her as well. In fact, Episode 7 had way too much incest and ass grabbing in it for my liking. But anyway, they had a child as well. It's revealed that this child was a boy, but thanks to Natsuhi losing her shit, the baby had an accident involving parental negligence and a very large cliff, and was presumed dead. In the same episode, Leon, another character I've got beef with because this name is spelt as Lion and not Leon, is the child that had not been thrown off a cliff because this is a different universe. However, Leon's gender is clouded in mystery. Looking at this character, it's hard to determine if it's a boy or a girl, and at no point is Leon ever referred to as a he or she. Even when Will asks it directly, we're still not given an answer. Next, in all of the times the child was thrown off a cliff, they'd survive and be raised under the name So Yasuda, nicknamed Yasu, and eventually brought to the island to work as a servant. While there, Yasu would become friends with Shannon, encounter her interpretation of Beatrice, and would eventually decide to become a witch herself. She would eventually solve the witch's riddle and is pronounced as the new Golden Witch Beatrice. So now we can confirm that Yasu, Leon, Beatrice, and Claire, the witch version of Yasu before becoming Beatrice, again don't think too hard on it, are all Yasu. But remember back to the beginning, it was confirmed that the child that was thrown off a cliff was a boy. So this means that Beatrice is either a trans woman or is having some sort of gender identity crisis. But it doesn't stop there. Upon further investigation, I realised something else. It's confirmed in episode 2 that Shannon's first name is Sayo, the same as Yasu's. It turns out that Shannon is also Yasu, and there's evidence in the game to prove it. Sorry George, your fiancé is hiding something from you. Which would also make this incest if you stop to think about it. She's technically your aunt / half-sister. And then it turns out that Cannon is another personality of Yasu's as well. No hints of that being in the game though. So again, Jessica, getting with him is also incest. What's wrong with the Umineko family? It's either incest or go home. Those cold winter evenings must just fly by. But you've now got like 6 characters here who are all one person. Holy shit, right? What a plot twist! Too fucking bad it never gets mentioned in the novel. Also, this game loves to add in new characters at every opportunity. The first episode introduces 19 characters, the next one introduces 7 more, the next one about 3, episode 4 a ton more, and it just never stops, even continuing into the second half without losing momentum. It feels less like I'm being introduced to new and colourful characters, and more like the game is throwing a handful of peanuts at my face at the start of each episode. I mean, what was the fucking point of having the 2 love demons in there? They were crap! They added nothing to the story. You could have improved this game by not having them in there. Same goes for Gap, or as I like to call her, Lady Side Boob. And eventually it gets to the point where several characters get completely forgotten about. Rosa and Maria, for example, are a big part of episodes 3 and 4, but are practically omitted from the second half of the game. Kraus, Rudolph and Nanjo hardly step into the spotlight at all, whilst Ava Beatrice has her moments in episode 3 before fucking off and only returning for cameo appearances. You've got all of these characters already there. Why did you need to add in new ones that only serve to overwhelm the reader? Did anyone actually find Will fun? Did anyone actually like Delanor's Die the Death line? Did anyone seriously think that Sakatoro was a decent character? No, I didn't. I mean, no, they didn't. You had better characters there already, so just fucking use those, jeez. And don't get me started on that rabbit girl who kept saying "nyeh" all the fucking time. I seriously wanted to snap her neck. But thinking on it, I truly believe that the second half did a disservice to the overall story. In fact, if you think about it, when it's revealed that everything is happening inside a catbox dimension of illusions, I mean, doesn't that just render everything that's happening as redundant? It means that everything that's happened so far hasn't actually happened. You do find out what really happened that day, and I like the truth behind it, but it just makes the rest of it pointless, because all it means is that instead of a reality where witches and magic exists, what we really get is Angie having a nervous breakdown. Also, I couldn't get on board with the reveal for why Beatrice has created these logic games for Battler. If you wanted to tell him that you love him, then Jesus Christ, girl, there are better ways of doing it than that. You do realise that the quickest way to a guy's heart is to not massacre his family. That should go without saying. Psycho bitch alert. I could go on about this in great detail, but I imagine I've left most of you terrified and confused right now, so let's have the conclusion. In conclusion, get the first half. It's really good to the point of being awesome. A fantastic setting and story, loads of varied and interesting characters, so many powerful scenes that will pull on your heartstrings, and the soundtrack is really good too. But for the love of God, don't go get in the second half. Just play the first half and then think up your own ending. I assure you that that'd be a much better experience for you. And while we're at it, don't watch the anime of Umineko either. If the novel forgot to explain its own mysteries, then what hopes do you think a condensed version has? Who's this guy again? Never mind, he just died.
Sometimes I think this life is killing me.